Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors Academy, and thank you for stopping by. All right, guys, now they're coming after Smith & Wesson. Smith & Wesson is now the manufacturer that is going to be on the chopping block for the most recent multi-million-dollar lawsuit. Ever since the Sandy Hook settlement, we knew this was coming, and interestingly enough, no coincidence here, Smith & Wesson is also the only CEO that didn't show up to the Dog and Pony Show in front of the House Rules and Oversight Committee with Carolyn Maloney we covered about a month ago. He's also the same CEO who sent out a letter saying we will not comply because we are not doing anything wrong. We are constitutionally protected for our activities. Interesting that they're now at the face of a lawsuit for their marketing practices, which is another interesting tie-in because that's what the House Oversight and Committee was doing. So many coincidences. Well, you guys know there's no coincidences. Everything is linked in the description box below. Let's dive into this because I've got to show you what they're up to now. Highland Park, July 4th parade situation victims' families sue gun manufacturer. Well, like I said, we all knew this was coming, but now it's here. Marketing practices. There it is again. Marketing practices from gun maker Smith & Wesson were designed to generate sales from people like the gunman who opened fire on the Highland Park July 4 parade, according to one of the several new lawsuits filed Wednesday by massacre victims and families grieving loved ones who were fatally shot in the tragedy. Interesting how marketing practices, they were designed to generate sales from people like the gunman. That's almost verbatim what the politicians were saying when they were accusing all the gun manufacturing CEOs in Congress of marketing malpractice. And how they've subpoenaed the marketing funds and all of the business plans and spend from Smith & Wesson. I tell you what, the coincidence is never ending. The lawsuits largely focus on Smith & Wesson, but also include the accused gunman, his father, and the gun store that sold the weapon identified by authorities in the situation. Interesting how anyone who touched it is now at fault, not the criminal, anyone who touched it in a material way. A central claim of the legal action is that the gun manufacturer behind the M&P-15 semi-automatic rifle illegally targeted young men at risk of violence with advertisements for firearms. You illegally targeted young men at risk of violence. How do you define someone risk of violence? Oh, it's a straw man argument because you saw $73 million go out from Remington? Yeah, anyway, let's keep going. Quote, this is from the lawyer, from the ambulance chaser. I'm just going to call him that. Quote, it simply did not have to happen, Antonio Ramanucci of Ramanucci and Blandon said at the press conference Wednesday. Smith & Wesson's marketing of the M&P-15 was unfair and deceptive because they knew that these marketing and sales practices promote and sell an image that caters to and attracts individuals just like the shooter. Interesting how you can tie those things together using key words that were also used, again, by politicians in oversight committees. Unfair and deceptive. What do you bet that the subpoenaed information is probably going to work its way, mysteriously leaked, to these lawsuits? Just saying. But if you can't get your legislative wishes and desires, why can't you just sue them out of existence? But let's continue. Liz Turnipseed, who was shot in the pelvis during the shooting, is the lead plaintiff suing the manufacturer. Her suit claims the company should have been aware of its advertisements would appeal to, quote, impulsive young men with hero complexes and/or militaristic delusions attracted to using the particularly high lethality of AR-15 style weapons to effectively execute their fantasies, her attorneys argue. What? So Smith & Wesson, the suit here is alleging that Smith & Wesson should have known that if they did a commercial for an M&P-15, that would immediately allude to the fantasies and delusions of someone who is mentally unstable. Okay. That makes no sense whatsoever, but let's keep going because this isn't about sense, this is about vengeance and gun control. The suit alleges Smith & Wesson ads mimic a first-person shooter perspective depicted in many popular video games, utilize visuals of apparent military or law enforcement personnel, and emphasize the gun's combat features. Weird. Anyway, let's keep going. Quote, the advertisements and marketing tactics described above demonstrate that Smith & Wesson knowingly marketed, advertised, and promoted the rifle to civilians for illegal purposes. Oh my God. Including to carry out offensive, military-style combat missions against their perceived enemies, her attorneys argue. Okay, prove to me right now, how are you going to prove this, that Smith & Wesson knowingly marketed and they advertised and promoted the rifle to civilians for illegal purposes. You proved to me how you knew that they were marketing for illegal purposes. You're going to say that because they were advertising a product, they were directly targeting illegal activity and inciting illegal activity from their consumers, potentially? Yeah, good luck in court. This is going to fall flat on its face. Lawsuits against gun manufacturers related to mass shootings have faced a multitude of legal roadblocks due to the 2005 Protection of Lawful Commerce and Arms Act, the PLCAA, which grants gun manufacturers immunity from lawsuits related to crimes committed with their products. Yeah, just like the auto industry, just like the pharmaceutical industry. Isn't it weird how the only one they're complaining about is the firearms industry, the one they want to destroy because they can't legally do it because the Constitution is taking them to town? Fascinating how all of this works and is tied together, isn't it? That's what I've got for you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments field below, and I will see you on the next episode. I'm Brayden. See you later.